Now, what caught my attention for Suntec REIT is actually this. Strong insider buying. Yang Chanzhen has actually spent $2.8 million to buy Suntec REIT at $1.43. And this is actually very recent, October 22nd, 2020. Now, of course, 2.8 million may not mean a lot to her, but it's still a sizable investment. And not only that, you will realize over here, Tang Jialin has actually bought in last year 5.4 million worth of Suntec REIT also at 1.36. Now, when it comes to this, I'm always thinking, what kind of opportunity are they seeing? Is there strong values? If not, what are their intentions? Do they have an ambition to maybe own Suntec REIT, which means a hostile takeover? I don't know. Pretty speculative, but I'm just thinking what motivates them to buy so much shares. Just to give you a bit of background, I think they're from the family for Singhai, which is a listed company in Singapore. And as I've seen, being invested in the market for quite a bit of time, when competitors start to buy stakes, they have objectives either to work together or they have intention to do a hostile takeover. Last year only, if I'm not wrong, there was this bidding, for United Engineers by Yenlot as well as Oxley. At the start, it was all investment, but eventually it molded into a hostile takeover. So that's a separate story. But I've always been keen when companies build stakes in one another rather than invest in themselves. Now, Suntec REIT is not just about Suntec City itself. If you go around it, you'll see awesome towers, grade A buildings. Tower 2, 3, 4, 5 are grade A offices. Pretty good, but they are also not the main thing of Suntec REIT itself. Suntec REIT also owns, just to share with you, Marina Bay Financial Centre MBFC, 1/3 holding of it, and also ORQ, which is both in Raffles area. Now, not only grade A offices in Singapore, Suntec REIT has recently diversified. They've bought Australian properties, as you can see in a few names over there, Harry's, Curry, Southgate, Pacific. They have, over the course of the last few years, started to diversify globally. And not only that, they have recently moved into London grade A office with this maiden purchase, Nova Buildings, and they have actually made a 430 M pound acquisition. So this is not small at all, 50% stake in this. And with that, it gives Suntec exposure to Australia, London and Singapore. Now, I'm not too familiar with London scene, but I do know a company that have been building stake in London grade A offices, and that company is Hobie. Maybe I'll do another presentation in future for Hobie because it's a company I followed quite a bit, a very well-run business. And Hobie has actually been building stake in London for a few years, so they have actually been earlier into the market of London. Maybe after Brexit, they have actually started to move more and more into London. So if you are keen, if you believe in London grade A offices, then Hobie even has a bigger exposure there. But Suntec is moving in that direction. Now, my family and I, we visit Suntec malls quite frequently, at least once a month, I would say that. And we actually enjoy a particular store there. So just a quick shout out. This is for Just Dough. They have awesome baos there. So if you haven't tried it, my suggestion is go and try it. Very interesting bao. This is actually chocolate banana one of our two favorites. The other one is, of course, the red bean bun. So I like supporting local businesses, local eateries. So this is something I like. Check it out. They're at Suntec Mall. Moving around Suntec Mall, I do realize a few key parts. There seems to be a lot of vacancies these days within the mall itself. Now, the mall is very important to net profit income. As you can see over here, based on last year's figures, pre-COVID figures, they contribute 28% of net property income to Suntec REIT itself, which means their fate, their profitability affects things. I see vacancies quite a bit in the mall itself, and it is being confirmed actually by this September presentation by Suntec REIT itself. What I've boxed up over here for you to see is actually early termination of leases happened in the first half of the year due to COVID, but second half of the year expected another 4%. This would mean that overall mall occupancy will trend downwards further to a national average of 90%. Now that's a bit concerning because simply when you invest in Suntec REIT, you want that mall to deliver income for you. And my guess is a few parts. We do know that the grade A offices of Suntec City are MNCs, and a lot of them are allowing staff to work from home fully in these days. If maybe even for yourself, a lot of mandate right now is to come back to office only next year. So if there's no office crowd, naturally there's nobody eating lunch. They are only expecting people to come in like myself to Suntec Mall. there are no neighborhoods around Suntec. So if COVID is to really spike up again, you expect the malls to not do well again. In comparison, if you look, Fraser Centerpoint Trust owns malls in the neighborhoods, which means even if we work from home, we'll go down to the mall itself. So Suntec Mall is a bit in that space. It's also not really in a major MRT line, so it does require office crowd. And the key second part, which is today's title, what concerns me about Suntec REIT. What makes Suntec REIT or Suntec City special is its convention center, correct? It's one of the few main convention centers, the others being Expo, the other being MBS, the other being Raffles City. You know, there's car fairs, baby fairs conducted at Suntec City itself. It draws in big amounts of crowds, correct? I'm sure you have gone for one of these fairs or another. You kind of know what is the specialness of the convention center. And without the convention center running, the malls, the tenants in the malls are actually struggling to reach back previous highs in terms of revenue. And as we can see over here, government has been communicating MICE events, big scale events are not going to be permitted anytime soon. Not only that, Suntec seems to require to inject more money to sustain the business. The convention city is where I'm mainly concerned about. Suntec REIT owns 60.8% of the convention. And an interesting part that I'd like to show you also is, if you look at where it is right now, it is even driving losses to the REIT itself. Which means if you invest in the other REITs, office REITs, you realize that losing tenants is fine. You still have profit, it's just a reduced profit. But when a REIT like Suntec REIT owns a convention center, there are losses that are mounting. And the worst part is these losses could persist for quite a period. Next year may not be any time full recovery, which means the convention center could continue to drag down on profitability. Also did a curious search. In terms of revenue, it delivered 28.6 million in terms of revenue for 2019, first half. And then if you look at the profitability, it's actually quite low, which means, in my intuition, the convention center is really there to bring up Suntec's brand name as well as to drive sales to the malls itself, correct? Make sense? The convention center itself is not so profitable. It really is a complementing tool to how things work. So that's why my title today, the main problem for Suntec is this convention center. If it's not going to recover anytime soon, the malls is not going to do too well. So what do you think? Is Suntec REIT a good business to own right now? So leave your comments in the sections below. I'll pick up each and every one of them. And if you have benefited, smash a like so that more people can see valuable content like this. Now, since you stayed to the end of the video, I'll share with you a little bit. I'm completing a video on Mapletree Commercial Trust. Just in case it's ready, I'll leave links below. Look out for that. And if you're looking to understand how to invest in REITs a bit better, I have a previous tutorial that I'd like to show you on. And that tutorial will definitely help you understand how you can invest better in REITs. With that, I'll sign off. Take care and goodbye.